Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Every 28 Hours. My name is Andy Hinton. I lead the ethics and compliance team here at Google, and I'm proud to present not just a play, but this movement to all of you. It's a movement that was started by Claudia Alick and the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and the 1 Minute Play Festival, and was inspired by images taken by mobile devices of scenes of violence between the police and black people. And because of that, the rules around this presentation are a little different than the rules about pretty much every other play that I've ever been at. You are encouraged to use your mobile devices as the play is happening to spread the word of the play, to take pictures of scenes that are particularly meaningful to you, to tweet your reflections of the play as it's happening. So we're mobile device friendly here today. So please use your phones, document the experience. One of the things that I do in my job at Google is to encourage people to be better ethical leaders. And I do this with a friend of mine on the team, Tony Macri. And one of the things he says to the senior leaders that we work with is that the sessions we hold are a gift to them. It's a gift of time to reflect. We're super busy. We've got a lot of things that we're doing, a lot of balls in the air, and Googlers generally just don't have enough time to reflect or self-reflect. And that's what this is, I suggest, for all of us. This is a chance for us to reflect and to engage in some self-reflection around the social justice movement. And having previewed the play, I can tell you, there's no better catalyst for that self-reflection than what you're about to see. I will tell you that you will likely see yourself in different roles in the actors, in different contexts, in different perspectives. And it's important for you to sort of allow that to happen and use it as a mechanism to enlighten yourself in terms of the various positions and perspectives around this really important issue. Talking a little bit more about what you're going to see and hear, and by way of warning, the very nature of the play is closely associated with violence, as I'm sure you can imagine. And so you will see references to images hear sounds of violence. You will hear gunshots. You will see prop guns. And so if those types of things are particularly alarming to you, I ask that you prepare yourself and protect yourself from those types of things. But you will see them in this play. Finally, in terms of thanking everybody, I'm never going to get this right, but within Google, Jane, Rachel, Justin, thank you very much for all the incredible hard work you did putting this together. And in terms of the play itself, there are simply just too many people to thank. So what I'm going to ask you to do, instead of hearing me thank a whole long list of people, is go to the website for the play, every28hoursplay.com. .org, sorry. every28hoursplay.org. Learn about the movement, learn about the people associated with the movement, and become part of the movement. And with that, thank you very much.
1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
6,
7,
8,
9,
10,
11,
12,
13,
14,
15,
16,
17,
18,
19,
20,
21,
22,
23,
24,
25,
26,
27.
28.
One.
Every 28 hours.
It's better in America than in my home country.
I'm not black, I'm Asian.
It's not my problem, it's a black or white thing.
Every 28 hours in America, a
Black? I'm not black. I'm African.
And so what? Nothing's gonna change.
There's a Japanese sheriff.
Every 28 hours in America, a black person gets killed.
Really? Where'd you get that data?
It's not my neighborhood.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Every 28 hours in America, a black person is killed by the police.
The police have a hard job too. Police, they're getting killed too.
I don't know enough about the court case.
They're all criminals anyways. Do they even really matter?
Every 28 hours in America, we lose a piece of our soul.
One hour.
I'm bored.
So am I.
There's nothing
2
on.
hours.
We have like
3
1,000
hours.
channels.
They're all in other languages.
Just
4
keep
hours.
Flipping.
5 hours.
What game are you playing?
6
Pokemon
hours.
Go.
Watch TV
7
with me.
hours.
But we're not even watching
8
anything yet.
hours.
Watch
9
me change the
hours.
channel.
10 hours.
11
Fine.
hours.
I hate this game anyway. Waste of time.
12 hours.
News.
13 hours.
News.
14 hours.
More news.
15 hours.
16
Housewives.
hours.
17
Bachelors.
hours.
18
Pregnant
hours.
teens.
19
I'm
hours.
bored.
20 hours.
So am I.
We
21
should take up a
hours.
new hobby.
22 hours.
We're both so busy.
23 hours.
Let's get a puppy.
We don't have
24
time for a
hours.
puppy.
Let's do some volunteer
5
work
hours.
then.
26
Why?
hours.
Why not?
27 hours.
28 hours.
News.
1 hour.
More news.
What's on the news?
2 hours.
3 hours.
Car accident.
Celebrity wedding.
4 hours.
Shooting.
5
Same
hours.
shooting.
6 hours.
Same shooting.
7 hours.
8
Hey,
hours.
isn't that just around the corner from us?
9 hours.
Yeah, crime around here is getting out of control.
10 hours.
11
We should
hours.
move to a better neighborhood.
12 hours.
Let's move
13
and
hours.
have a baby.
14 hours.
15 hours.
Great idea.
16 hours.
I love you.
17 hours.
I love you
18
too.
hours.
19 hours.
20 hours.
21 hours.
22 hours.
23 hours.
24 hours.
25 hours.
26 hours.
27 hours.
28 hours.
This shit is broken.
Oh, nothing's broken.
America, man, it's broken.
I love America.
Hey, let me ask you a question, white man.
Yeah, ask me anything.
You think I'm a bad motherfucker?
Yeah. Yeah, man, you're a bad motherfucker.
I make you nervous?
No.
Tell the truth. How we gonna fix it if you can't tell the truth?
just relax.
Don't tell me to relax. Why should I relax?
What's the problem now?
I'm not the problem.
Yo, what's wrong with
I already
you, man?
told you you don't listen.
Huh?
It must be nice to be deaf and blind and stupid.
Look, I don't want any trouble.
Me neither, man.
I love America.
Yeah. America loves you too.
So, he was all like, whatever, if you would just step off.
Oh, that's offensive.
Okay. Sorry. So, he was all like, if you would just stop looking at me like.
Problematic. Okay, sorry, just don't go there.
Don't go where?
Wherever it is you're going to go.
How do you know where it is that I'm gonna go to?
I don't, but I know it's going to end in a trigger warning, so don't. It's inappropriate.
It really happened.
Well, lots of things really happened. Doesn't mean to talk about them, because when you talk about them, I have to deal with them. I'm not supposed to deal with anything. Look, you can have whatever statistic you want, and that's fine, but I deserve a warning, okay? I deserve to be comfortable.
He lived on my street. Went to school with my brother.
Once again, I am offended.
And they put him in jail for 24 hours for a crime he didn't commit, and they made him say something about it, and they made him sit complicit within it. Now, I'm sorry if that offends you. I'm sorry if you're lucky enough not to be thinking about it every time you walk down the street. And I'm sorry if it offends you. It offends me too, but if I don't keep talking about it, it's just gonna keep happening again and again and again. His name was Ryan.
I am so sorry. I get it now. I totally get it. I know what it's like. I had a dog named Ryan.
Now that is some offensive, problematic, trigger warning type shit.
How many black friends you got?
Oh, plenty. Hey, with one of them right now.
Don't be clowning me. Who was Marcus Garvey?
I know who Marcus Allen was. And I don't count my friends.
'Cause 0 don't take no counting.
1.
Then you suck.
I don't suck.
No, I know nobody tells you. You suck.
Why are you so fucking angry getting all Malcolm X on my shit?
I'm angry because I breathe and I'm black.
But I'm one of the good ones.
No, I'm one of the good ones. Clean, articulate as fuck.
Fuck you.
Get more black friends or you go from 1 to 0.
For real?
I ain't got time for this shit no more. And if you don't know where to find us, ask Dunkin' Donuts. They got customers know where the fuck to find us.
Next.
My dog. He thinks he's a black man, Dr. Simone.
What the fuck?
Why would you say that?
Well, he's afraid of cops. Every time he sees one, he tries to run away.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
This is a tricky one.
It is. It is, and I don't know what to do. Can you help?
I think so.
Oh, good. It's okay. Oh, no, it's not. It's,
Better?
Better.
Next.
what the fuck?
Well, well, look at this. You're white.
Yeah. And you're black.
Been this way since birth.
What a coincidence. Huh? So have I.
You know, being white in here is different from being white out there.
I'm not sure that I understand.
In here, you're the minority.
Yeah. I know we're outnumbered here, but that doesn't mean you and I are going to have a problem now, does it?
No. It just means we're going to have to learn how to coexist.
How are we going to do that?
Sink and toilet stay clean after you use it. Sink and toilet stay clean after I use it. I keep my side of the room clean, you keep your side of the room clean. You dig?
Yeah. Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it. Mutual respect, right?
That's right. It's just that simple.
The officer has me on the ground. It's an empty part of Miami. So there's no glass on the street. Still, I've been there for 5 seconds. I know because I count. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm scared. The officer shouts.
I said, stay on the fucking ground, do not move!
The officer calls into the radio for backup. Hi, the suspect is on the ground and reported by the officer as chatty and described as the black list.
Dreads or whatever they call it. Is this your car? I said, is this your car?
I did not know the officer was speaking to me. I respond. Who else?
Yeah, shut the fuck up!
Backup arrives and yells.
Don't talk back to her, huh? Where's your ID?
I'm asking my ID. I say nothing.
Where is your ID?
I'm scared. They told me not to talk, so I say nothing. That's when I hear officer move towards me.
Got your wallet. Found the ID now.
They read my name.
Cuevas?
It's my last name. They ask me in Spanish.
Su nombre es Cuevas?
I'm not in Spanish. Sí, mi nombre es Cuevas. I'm told to get off the ground. Oh, I'm helped up. I'm told that they're sorry about all that. I'm giving my ID back and told.
Here you go, Cuevas. Stay out of trouble. Su pelo? Cut that hair.
Apple Store on Main reporting theft. Suspect sighted walking south on 1st Street. No description at this time.
Oh, don't move!
Oh, officer!
It's okay. Female.
Yes, female.
What's the matter, officer?
Oh, nothing, but there are some thieves lurking about.
Oh.
You haven't seen anything, have you?
Oh, no.
What's wrapped up in there?
Oh, this is my computer.
Oh, Apple Air, right?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm saving to get one of those for my wife.
Oh.
This is brand new. Do you have a receipt?
A receipt? Receipt? Oh, no. Everybody knows Apple is an environmentally friendly company. They don't give receipts anymore, silly.
No?
No, they email them. Oh. I have to go now.
Huh. Well, you be careful out there, ma'am. It's very...
Oh, you dropped something.
It's okay, I got it. Here you go, ma'am.
Thank you. Protection, you know.
Oh.
We know. It's dangerous out there.
Very dangerous. You be careful now, all right?
I will.
You want to play games? I can arrest you right now. I said give me your ID.
I gave it to you.
Shut your goddamn mouth. I could kill you.
Hey, man, I didn't do anything.
Get out of the goddamn car. Turn around! Where's your ID? What are you hiding?
I'm trans.
What?
I'm trans. It's my old name.
What the?
I'm gonna change it tomorrow.
You try it sometime. Seriously. Do you try it? Because you got 2 seconds, maybe. That's if you're lucky, to make a decision. What to do. What to do, and that's it. 2 seconds, maybe less. Everybody hates you, you know that. Whatever you do, you're the bad guy. You can see it in their faces. They hate you for pulling them over, hate you for giving them a ticket. Can't do anything right. Wherever you go, you're the cops, the pigs, the fascists, huh? And then somebody comes out of the dark holding a phone or a toy or one of those big fucking combs, huh? Or a gun, who knows? You're supposed to, in 2 seconds, make a decision in 2 seconds. Life or death. Life or death. And so you do. You do what you're trained to do, ordered to do, took an oath to do. Hey! Hey! Hands up! Now! Up where I can see him! Now, asshole! Do it! You try it sometime. You think it's so fucking easy.
Well, it's happened. Charlie is finally out.
There's got to be an easier way to get him to sleep than driving around the city for 20 minutes every night.
I know. Will, lock your door.
Why?
That man.
What man?
There, on the corner. Just lock your door.
Okay. Now, why did I just do that?
For security. I mean, growing up, my dad always had us lock the door if we ever saw a stranger in the city.
Stranger or black stranger?
It's not like that, okay? It's just what we did.
And it's what you still do. Christine, come on, you're 34.
It's not like that. It's just a habit, part of the world I was raised in.
And what about Charlie? Is this really the world we want for him?
It's not what I meant. What I mean is, just drive. Ding dong, ding dong.
Hi! We're your friends at
Homestead Mutual.
Life insurance company.
And we're here to remind you
that death comes to us all.
But in your case,
most often sooner rather than later.
We are here to make payments.
Easy and convenient for you, our valued customer.
Your children and future generations.
Speaking of your children, it has come to our attention
that some of your children have been comparing notes
with kids who don't live on this side of town.
And they might have discovered that our practice of visiting your home
is highly unusual and virtually predatory.
We're here to make payments easy and convenient for you. So have no fear.
Because your friends at Homestead Mutual
are just a phone call away. We've got you covered. But we only take cash.
They killing.
Who, Mom?
They, the people outside.
Mom, you looking outside.
That's TV. What movie is it?
Mom, it's not a movie. You're looking outside.
That's a movie. I don't like it.
Mom, you want me to do your hair before Sonia come? You know you like to have your hair done before you see anyone.
Who is Sonia?
Sonia's your caregiver, Mom. She comes at 8:30 every day.
I don't want to watch that movie anymore.
Mom.
You going out there?
I have to go to work, Mom. Sonia will be here at 8:30.
I don't like that you have to go on TV every day at 8:30.
No! Just lighten the fuck up and maybe learn to recognize an ally when you see one.
A racist ally?
I'm standing here with you. I'm marching with you. I'm protesting with you. How am I racist?
What are you protesting?
What?
What are you protesting with me?
Police brutality.
Oh, against black people?
Against all people.
Thereby deliberately erasing the particularity of our problem as a disproportionately targeted people. And because dismissing the problem is in fact part of the problem. Racist!
Okay. Okay, so being for actual equality and not narrowing my focus to a particular group of people makes me racist?
Would you go to a St. Patrick's Day parade waving the British flag?
No, of course
Would you
not.
promote prostate cancer research at a breast cancer walk?
No.
You ever watch the Special Olympics and think they really ought to have honorary medals for able-bodied people? Oh, do you go to the Holocaust Museum and think, you know, the Armenians went through some shit too? Do you crash well-attended funerals and shout, all deaths matter?
No.
Well then.
New York's a long way from Ferguson, Kim.
Well, I'll be back by Christmas if I don't get that voiceover job. So, what are you gonna do for yourself? For us, you need a plan. You need to move on.
Move on? After what happened Saturday?
You're not the one who's dead, Jamal.
So what if I chased your tail up to college? Kim, the same damn thing could happen to me.
Well, you're not really like that.
What? I can't. All right, Miss Drama Actress, Miss Voiceover. What's an owl sound like?
What are you even talking
Just answer me, damn it.
Whoo. Whoo.
Good. Now, what's a cat sound like?
I don't know. Meow.
Okay. Now, what does a kiss sound like?
Mwah. You're scaring me, Jamal.
Listen now. What's the sound of a white person's voice when they see a black man lying dead in the street? That's what I thought. Voices can heal, baby.
Happening now, breaking news. Protests are running street battles breaking out in Baltimore.
No justice! No justice!
Just trying to do my job.
And your job is to make money off us. Make money and then leave.
I get paid to do my job, and my job is to tell the story.
And by doing what? Trying to stick a microphone in that poor woman's face while she's grieving?
Well, that is the story.
No, it's not. It's her private business, her grief, man. You want to tell the story? Tell the story about police brutality and how we get stopped driving. Tell the story about how we got no jobs and how those suck-ass developers come in and bust up our neighborhoods. Tell the story about how our kids go to shitty schools and how our churches keep burning down. That's the story. Get out. So they dragged him from the house?
Yes. And they broke his wrist, too.
What?
They broke his wrist as they were dragging him. Then they hung him.
Wait, so whose wrist was cut?
That was my father with the cut wrist. The stress of looking at this tree every day My grandfather had the bruised wrist from falling from a branch. The broken wrist was my great-grandfather. He was dragged from the house and hung from this tree. They said he stole a jar of molasses. So you see, you can't tear it down, or rather you kill me.
Why would you want to keep it standing?
Because we need to be reminded that their momentary whim can be the diseased backbone of our legacy. And that needs to be locked into our DNA. A molecular reminder of what we're dealing with. You understand, boy? Do you? Huh?
So, they dragged him from the house.
The Atlantic slave trade brought millions of workers from Africa to the southern U.S. to work on agricultural plantations.
They weren't workers. They were slaves.
Well, technically, they worked, so they were workers.
No, workers get to choose their jobs. Workers get to leave whenever they want to. Slaves are kidnapped, sold at auction, raped, branded, whipped, starved, and worked to death.
Hey, who is telling this story?
Good question.
I'm an American. It's 2017. In New York, 2 degrees, a job, a taxpayer with a dog, and I'm scared all the time in America.
Hey, hands up. Now!
I don't know how to fight.
Where you going this late?
Home, sir.
No, don't you raise your voice at me!
I'm a slave. It's 1830 on a plantation. I work in the fields. I'm someone's property. Scared all the time in America.
On the ground. Huh? Now, boy!
I don't know how to fight.
Hey, where you headed this late?
Home, sir.
Hey, don't you raise your voice at me!
I don't want to fight. I
I
want to
be free.
When we first moved here, David was 8 years old. The first thing we did before we unpacked a single box was take him down to the police department. I introduced him to the entire force. I wanted them to know his name, what he looked like, that he lived here, and that he belonged.
You never told me that.
Every single day, I told him, if you see the police, don't run. Stay quiet. Keep humble. Come home to me. Alive.
Of course, we all worry about our children.
But your son will never be a hashtag.
I'm sorry, Michonne. I'm sorry that I can't bring him back. I'm sorry that my son got away and that he's alive.
I wouldn't wish this on you or anyone, but it's just not fair. And what's worse is before I can even bury my child somewhere in this country, another mother is gonna lose her son. It has to stop.
I know.
He was evil. The trigger puller? I said so out loud and the press tried to lynch me. We ain't even allowed to call them what they are.
I had specific pictures, of him laughing with his father. But they scanned his phone, found his middle finger extended. For this, he's forever guilty. They have no idea what kind of gentle soul he was.
They see mean, scary faces. Not a smile breaking through.
They don't understand our humor.
They killed mine in the streets. Left his body for hours.
They killed mine in the streets. Skittles clutched in his hands.
Mine was only 18. And they threatened him like 45.
Mine was 17. And even in death, they tried him as an adult.
This is a sisterhood I don't want to be a part of.
We are unified. Mothers of sons too complex to be immortalized in headlines.
Heard we got another member today? Ain't gonna be no more room left in the circle.
He was my baby.
He was my baby.
He was my baby.
And big at 3 years old.
Too big to be 3.
He looked about 4 or 5.
And getting into everything and walking up to everybody.
But he was mine.
He was mine.
And I taught him big words. Big words like justice.
Like freedom.
Like revolution.
Big words that carried my baby into manhood. Until they took him from me. Took my son from me and left him lying there.
Remain.
Out of my reach, but not out of my sight.
Kai.
Not out of my
Freddie.
remembering. And
Michael.
we spoke big words.
Samir.
Big words like justice. Like justice. Like justice. Like justice. Like justice now. Or else.
Where'd you get that?
What?
That light.
It's always been on.
Turn it off. It's bothersome.
I don't know how. My dad said it's okay to keep it on, because ain't nothing I can do about it. I don't mind if it bothers folks, because maybe they don't have what I have, and that's okay too.
A law was just passed.
What happened was...
It was dark. The street was dark, man.
He was coming
towards me in the dark, and I saw him reach into his holster.
fucking bag.
And I shouted, stop!
Stop! Motherfucker, what are you doing?
What the hell?
And then I saw
the gun.
fucking beer.
But it was too goddamn
late.
How does this work?
I start off by examining your body for any marks or cuts. I weigh
I didn't have a weapon.
I make a Y-shaped incision from both shoulders all the way down to the pubic bone.
Archaeology. I've always been interested in excavating things. And now...
I remove the front of the rib cage so I can examine the chest and neck organs.
My body is the only evidence I have left. You have to say something.
Remove, weigh,
They're going to turn me
examine
into a monster.
tracheothyroid, parathyroid,
They're going to rip
esophagus,
me apart.
heart, abdominal organs,
People
our
are
necks,
going to be
thoracic
famous.
aorta. To remove the brain,
People are
the incision
going
is
to
made
be
in the back of the
rich.
skull from one ear
People are going
to the
to
next. The
retire
scalp
off of
is
this,
separated
make good
and
money,
pulled
buy
forward from
houses and
underlying
cars
skull,
off of
and
this
the top of the
body.
scalp is removed.
I could have been your
Bone skull,
daughter.
and then the whole.
I could have been your daughter.
Enough! I know. Every day on this table. I know. For over a century, we have provided consistent service on continents all over the globe.
We have helped take down the guilty and protect the innocent.
But as of today, we could no longer take part.
You see, we have grown too intimate with these young men and women.
We have outrun them far too much, became far too acquainted with their backs.
We have outnumbered them, sometimes as many as 41 to 1.
We were made to ensure safety, but we're ending up too often in the wrong hands.
Even in the hands of those supposedly trained on how to use us properly.
We were made to take down the guilty, but are ending up too often inside innocent skin.
So, until this is sorted, we are hereby on indefinite strike.
Try talking it out for a while instead.
Signed,
The bullets!
The bullets!
The bullets!
say something. Say something.
Black people murdered by law enforcement. 1700s.
Unknown.
Unknown.
Unknown hundreds.
Unknown hundreds.
Unknown thousands.
Unknown tens of thousands.
Unknown tens of thousands.
Unknown hundreds of thousands.
Unknown hundreds of thousands.
Unknown millions.
1800s.
Unknown.
Unknown.
Unknown hundreds.
Unknown hundreds.
Unknown thousands.
Unknown tens of thousands.
Unknown tens of thousands.
Unknown hundreds of thousands.
Unknown hundreds of thousands.
Unknown millions.
1900s.
Unknown.
Unknown.
Unknown hundreds.
Unknown hundreds.
Unknown thousands.
Unknown.
Fred Hampton. Roman Ducksworth. James Chaney. Andrew Goodman. Michael Schwerner. Jimmy Jackson. Jonathan Myrick Daniels. Benjamin Brown. Henry Smith. Delana Herman. Jonathan Myrick Daniels. James Rector. Maybe Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X.
Jeffrey Miller. Allison Cross. Sandra Shore, William Schroeder, Philip Gibbs, James Green.
Unknown.
Amadou Diallo, LaTanya Haggerty, Margaret Mitchell.
2000s.
Prince Jones.
Unknown.
Malcolm Ferguson.
Unknown.
Patrick Dorisman.
Unknown.
Ronald Beasley.
Unknown.
Timothy Thomas. Orlando Barlow. Ousmane Zongo.
Unknown.
Alberto Spiro.
Unknown.
Timothy Stansberry.
Unknown.
Ronald Madison. James Brissett. Henry Glover. Sean Bell. Deontay Farrow. Tarika Wilson. Oscar Grant.
Unknown.
Shem Walker.
Unknown.
Victor Steed, Kiwani Carrington, Trayvon Martin, Katherine Johnston, Kendra James, Michael Brown, Stephen Washington, Anaya Jones, Dan Roy Henry, Derek Jones, Reginald Doucette, Raheem Brown, Kenneth Harding, Alonzo Ashley, Kenneth Chamberlain, St. Manuel Loggins, Raymond Allen, Deontay Price, Nehemiah Dillard, Wendell Allen, Sharice Francis, Rakia Boyd, Kendrick McDade, Irvin Jefferson, Damon Robinson, Chantel Davis, Chavez Carter, Ronaldo Cuevas, Melissa Williams, Johnny Warren, Dion Flood, Larry Jackson, Carlos Solis, Jonathan Farrell, Miriam Carey, Andy Lopez, Jordan Baker, Mackenzie Cotran, Yvette Smith, Victor White, Eric Conner, Tyree Woodson, John Crawford, Dante Parker,
Azeel Ford, Kajim Powell, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Romaine Brisbane, Sandra Bland, Tanisha Anderson, Shelley Frey, Denisha Harris, Alicia Thomas, Dontre Hamilton, Natasha McKenna, Brandon Jones, Charlie Kunang, Walter Scott, Delicious Vincent, David Felix, Thomas Allen, Brandon Glenn, Chris Jackson, William Chapman, Albert Davis, Laval Hall, Bobby Gross, Sandra DeBose, Eric Harris, Frank Shepard, Antargo Howard, Darius Stewart, Salvador Edgewood, Victor LaRosa, Jeremy Lett, Anthony Hill, Darius Stewart, Salvador Elwood, Victor LaRosa, Jeremy Lett, Anthony Hill, Spencer McCain, Kristen Taylor, Aaron Campbell, Terrence Crutcher, Sandra Bland, Alton Serling,
Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Mario Woods, Marlon Lewis, Alfred Olengo, Christopher Sewell, Alfred Toe, Fred Barlow, Paul O'Neill, Dalvin Hollins, Kendrick Brown, Kane Rogers, Antoine Shumpert, Jessica Williams, Peter Gaines, Marco Loud, David Joseph, Kaylin Rockamore, Wendell Selfston Jr., Clarence Howard, Vernell Bing Jr., Ollie Brooks, Randy Nelson, Deshaun Perkins, Darius Robinson, Kevin Hicks, Terrell Thomas, Mary Troxelo, Daron Small, Betty Jones, Jamar Clark, India Kager, Corin Gaines, Felix Kumi, Kristen Taylor, Ross Anthony, Sam Holmes, Brendan Glenn, Freddie Gray, Walter Scott, Frank Smart, Curtis Jordan, Willard Egan Scott, Shelley Porter, DeAndre Phillips, Christopher Davis, Antoine Scott, DeMarcus Seamer, Dole Pierre Lewis, Michael Wilson Jr., Clarence Howard, Javonia Riggins, Michael Noel, Keith Childress, Leroy Browning, Junior Prosper, George Mann, Curtis Jordan.
Who
Who else?
Who else? Will it stop?
Nothing new from the beginning.
From the beginning. Always been.
Always been, by design.
By design. Will it stop?
Will it stop?
Will we stop it?
Will this ever stop?
Panelists, if you can come up here. Hi, my name is Jane. It is an honor to be up here to facilitate tonight's panel discussion. I've been on the legal online operations team for a bit over 2 years now, and I've been learning how to be an ally for the past 3 months, ever since I watched this play back in November. Experiencing this play has helped me go from being colorblind to color brave. Now, I say that because before I watched this play, I used to try to not notice people's differences by the color of their skin and by their race. In my color blindness, I was being a part of the problem by avoiding the problem. But after I watched this play, I couldn't unsee what I had started to see. And I found courage to start engaging in the much needed, very overdue, real conversations about racial injustice. And when I started doing that, it was really uncomfortable. But when I started doing that, I remembered what Brian Stevenson shared with us at last year's Black History Month TGIF. He shared that injustice is only overcome. Oppression only ends. Bias and bigotry will only change when we are willing to do uncomfortable things, inconvenient things. This room, and in all the rooms that are joining us over VC tonight, has the capacity, the power, and the talent to change this world. This is the start of us getting proximate to those who are suffering around us. I do believe that if we continue to stay hopeful, and if we continue to do more uncomfortable things like this, we will start changing these narratives and stories in real life around the world. Can we all just take a deep breath together? You're probably going through a lot of different emotions, and if you're like me, frustration, hurt, anger, confusion are at the top amongst all the other feelings you're going through. But when I took a step back, I realized that this is all about learning how to love on one another, not just during Black History Month, but every single day. I'd like to share a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with you. He said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Yes, we have a lot of work to do, but as an ally, I have learned that it is okay not to know exactly what the next steps look like. But that's precisely why we're here with you tonight, to talk it out and to have a real discussion. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panelists. In the meantime, please start thinking about your questions and queuing up at the mics so that we can tackle as many of them as we can. Thank you. So we have, I'll go from left to right. We have our very own Andy Hinton, VP of Ethics and Compliance. Justin Steele, principal of Google.org. Claudia Alec, the creator of this play that swept the nation. Tyrone Davis, lead director. Alan Lacey, director of the play. And co-artistic director Rose Oser. Okay. So again, we're going to hear a bit from the panelists, and feel free to start queuing up at any time. Well, I'd first like to start off with our very own Googlers on stage, if you want to just take a deep breath as well. We'd love to hear about just like your personal takeaways from this play. I'll actually give you some time to like think about it, but first I'd love to go to Claudia, and like I wanted to ask you, like, what was your heart behind creating this play, and like was your vision just put on stage, or was it much greater than what you could have ever imagined?
Well, there was a moment that we called the Ferguson moment, and I was online, and everyone was freaking out at the same time, saying, I'm going to Ferguson, and it was late at night, and in a fit of pique, I said, we should do that. And so I started a Facebook group, and we did it, and we connected, we went to Ferguson, we met with artists, we talked to people, we were there for 3 days. And when I left, I realized we have to do something more. This is history in the making. This is us trying to help America in this huge way. But I also recognized that my voice was not enough to cover this. That this is a group project we're doing as a nation. And a lot of us have invested a lot of time in either oppressing people or being oppressed. And so I tried to reach out to the maximum number of playwrights as possible. So I just have to acknowledge the huge number of amazing collaborators, people who lost people in their lives, and they came and they shared their stories with us. History professors giving us just a breakdown of redlining and how Ferguson literally came to be a physical entity. Playwrights from all over the country sharing their words. Actors embodying this traumatizing work. Can we just give a huge round of applause for these actors? So yes, this project is larger than anything I could have imagined. We've got 45 different states involved, and there have been just thousands of lives touched by this work, and it feels like something we need to continue doing.
I agree. Thank you. And for our directors and co-artistic director, just what was it like for you personally, bringing in your own stories, your own backgrounds and struggles as you tried to do your best to make this play come to fruition?
Yeah, I've always believed that theater is a powerful tool. And so like Claudia, when things were going haywire online and in life, I just wanted to figure out what can I do to contribute, to the solution around it. And theater's been my safe place to go to have a conversation. And so I was grateful for the work, and working on this, it was really close to home, obviously. The day my son was born was the day that the grand jury decided not to indict Darren Wilson. And so I was actually holding my son in my arms, looking at this unraveling right in front of me, and just realized, like, damn, my life doesn't even matter here. Someone can be killed and just go home and eat a sandwich. You know what I mean? So it just bothered me to the point where I had to do something. And being able to be with the actors in the room and space and work on this piece was a huge blessing to have an outlet, but it's also very difficult to work on. Mm-hmm. This last piece, Unknown Thousands, you can't even rehearse that piece, really. It was so difficult to even get through it. And we had a run at FaultLine Theater for about, 4 weeks or so? And so I had to tell the actors to take care of themselves. A lot of times I had to just say, we're not going to necessarily go through the whole process. We're just going to mark it and call it a night. But it's definitely personal, it's definitely close to me, and I hope that the plays is a vehicle for conversation. Yeah.
Extremely proud of this work. I want to thank Rose, Tyrone, Claudia, and everybody for including me. And I have a question for the audience. Did you feel anything? Applaud if you felt something. Thank you. Good. Because I've seen it a million times and I cried again. So. I think this is a testament to the human spirit And, you know, as Tyrone was saying, when they read those names, you know, you call those spirits into the room. And it's a great way to not only honor the fallen, but realize, what do we as human beings, race is a misconception. There's only one race, the human race. What can we as human beings do moving forward? The scary part for me is Jeff Sessions, who is now the top cop. I hate to say it, but this is going to become even more of a problem. I don't know if you know, in 1994 to 96, while he was Attorney General of Alabama, there were 41 black churches bombed. And there was an alleged voter fraud by black people that was never proven. So what he did, he put those two instances together and concluded that black folk burned down their own churches to cover the voter fraud. So with someone like that emboldened and empowered, we're going to face more of this type of issue. So the question becomes, as human beings, how do we come together to stand for the right thing?
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rose. I'm co-artistic director of FaultLine Theater. So we were one of the theaters across the nation that produced this show, and we produced this particular show. But as a white person, I learned a lot. I think this show helped me wake up in a lot of ways. And I did not direct this show because that would not be my place. And it really taught me a lot about collaboration and making sure you have the right people in the room.
And would you mind me just doing a quick shout out for Google itself? Because I
Absolutely.
don't know if y'all understand. We could not have done this without the tools that Google provides. Thank you for Google Docs and Google Sheets. All of the Google. No, seriously.
BGN, Google.org, everybody. Yes. So back to our Googlers on stage. Are you ready to share how it has hit you personally and any personal takeaways?
So I'm happy to share. It would take far more time than we have to go through the different emotions and the different impacts that this had for me. I don't know nearly as much as I should know. And for me, and this is simultaneously important and stupid, I was a prosecutor when Amadou Diallo happened, and that feels to me like a lifetime ago. And so it's just amazing that for me this has been happening for so long. There's more that I can do, and I need to figure out how to do that. Just a lot.
Thank you. I think that applies to a lot of us.
I think the first thing for me is just, how much this play humanized this. And again, a huge shout out to the actors for just making these lives real, the struggle real, the challenge real. It's just so real. And I think oftentimes, this last act, Unknown Thousands, I feel like so oftentimes people of color being gunned down are just unknown others to people. And to make it real and to humanize it is really powerful. One thing I was reflecting on for myself, which is, I don't have a conclusion, but just, kind of reflecting on my feelings, the violence against people of color, as shocking and disturbing as it is, actually wasn't what made me most uncomfortable sitting in my chair watching this. What made me most uncomfortable was when people of color were challenging white folks to do better. And in doing it with zest and anger and frustration and challenging it directly. And I was just listening to myself watch that and think, why is that actually what's, I'm like, wow, she just said that, whoa. You can't do that. That's a, wow. And it makes me think wow, that says something. And I don't know yet what that says, but that was something that I definitely was stepping back and reflecting on. I think I just tiptoe around white fragility like all day long. And like to see it challenged in such a direct way was like really, really jarring. So there's that. And then the last thought that I have is just, like I have the privilege through Google.org of doing a lot of work in proximity to people who are leading the movement for Black lives and leading the resistance. And I guess I'll just say, like, the resistance is beautiful. Like, there's just, like, so much love and compassion and courage. And so the resistance to all of this, like, human carnage is really inspiring and beautiful. So, like, I have hope through just getting to know all the folks who are leading us to a better place than this.
Thank you. Okay. Well, Rose, I would actually like to direct a question towards you. It's a tough one, but what was it like for you when you woke up, or before you woke up to allyship, and how is it different from now?
Ooh. Woke up feels strong. That feels, I guess I use that word too, but I think it's a process. I don't think anyone's fully awake, and I think if I thought I was awake, then I'd probably be just like a different kind of racist. I think there's a lot of racism that we experience every day. I think I do a lot of little racist things all the time, and we all do. And part of waking up is maybe just acknowledging all those little moments and trying to fix them. But I'm still getting there. I think we all are. I think especially in work environments, you kind of just have to look out for it, or in any systems. We live in a lot of systems, and a lot of those systems have all kinds of racism attached to them. So, as I said before, I think it's more about, I'm personally trying to surround myself by more people of color, and I think it never hurts to ask someone, you know, I noticed that this doesn't feel quite right. Does this feel okay for you? And being aware of that. Yeah. But I'm still learning.
Yeah, me too. I guess, don't be shy. You can come up to the mic.
You guys ask questions.
Sorry, we don't have a door.
Look, there's a mic in the middle.
So.
Look, that's not scary. That's just a big microphone.
Yay, thank you.
Hey, I volunteer as tribute. So, as a white person, I understand that I need to use my privilege to have conversations with people, with other white people, where they might not be facing this, where Black people may not be, where I can have that conversation. And yet I feel so frustrated and almost helpless in that even if I can get somebody to listen to me, I don't know what I can tell them to do about anything. Can you offer advice, ideas?
Could I? Thank you for that, first of all. I think we have to all get in the room of all colors and have the uncomfortable conversation. And it's not going to be pretty. I liken it to Nelson Mandela when he became president after being in prison. One of the first things he did was brought the oppressed and the oppressor in a room, and it lasted over months, and it got ugly, it got heated, but we've never had that conversation in America about race. We've never addressed the grievances against African folks who were kidnapped and brought over here. So until we all, and it's good that you work in your subgroup, but I think all of us have to come together and as intelligent, loving human beings, have the difficult talk, because in this country, we've never had it.
Thank you.
So we did a project that were cold table reads. We found out that there were some communities that did not have the right demographics to cast the plays with identity-specific casting. That was really important to us, but we also recognized these are stories that are important for people to hear. So we did these table reads where anybody could read any role, and we sat at a table, and it was done with non-actors. And it was amazing. And we always ended, we only did 10 plays. It took an hour and a half to read 10 plays because there was a conversation after each one of those plays. And afterwards, we asked people, what should we do? And that table brainstormed solutions. My first piece of advice is stop being in denial. Denial is killing us. And then my second piece of advice is go have a conversation with somebody who's not in denial and brainstorm some solutions. I think we need as many of them as we could have.
I'll just add one thing to that. I think it's also powerful to understand that don't underestimate, the change in one person. So just being able to call a thing is really important. And that one person goes and tells another person, I believe that's still powerful as well.
Hi.
So first I want to just say thank you for bringing this here. And I know it's been said, but again, particularly to the actors, just as a person of color, I know how exhausting it is to experience the tragedies that we've witnessed over the past, over our lifetime. And so I really respect what the actors have to do in order to relive and relive and relive and embrace and embrace and embrace and endure and endure and endure. I know how exhausting it was for me to have to see what happened to Tamir and to talk about it and to things like that. And so to keep doing that just to get the word out, thank you guys so much for that, because it's truly a skill, it's truly an art, and I sincerely appreciate that. A couple of things, and I guess my comments are more so directed to the Google folks. One of the things that I really appreciate about working here is that in addition to Google being an amazing place to work, the thing that I really appreciate about it is that I feel like Google has the ability to really change the world. The things that we do here have the ability to touch just about everyone. And so when I think about racial healing, inequality, injustice, I have a difficult time thinking of an organization that's better positioned to seriously impact that than Google. Now, maybe I'm overly idealistic, right? I don't think so, but it's a possibility. So to that, thinking from that perspective, one, how do we do that? How do we move that forward beyond our diversity hiring efforts, beyond some of the things that we're constantly, that we are doing? How do we shift the dynamic globally from a 10x perspective, right? That's what we always talk about. How do we apply that 10x to healing, equality, and those types of things? And then the last thing I want to ask is, given how powerful this is, in this place specifically, is there an opportunity with some of the virtual technology that we have to bring it to even more people in an all-encompassing way? Thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll start, and then Andy, you can jump in. One of the really challenging pieces, because I agree, Google's a magical place, and you want to be able to apply some of that magic to really tough challenges like this. I think one of the really difficult things is we're used to being in the lead. We're used to jumping in the driver's seat and being the 10x thinker. And to be honest on this, I think we need to follow. But there's ways to follow in a really powerful way. And part of the challenge is we're not the most proximate to this, right? Google is not the most proximate to the challenges that we're talking about up on this stage. And so it's really about how do we empower and give a platform to the leaders who are most proximate, who are leading the movements, who are out front. They have 10x ideas, they just don't have the resources to 10x them. And so I think part of it is giving of our resources, and I have the privilege of doing some of that through Google.org. Part of it too, though, is lending our technical expertise to help 10x those people's ideas. And we're working with the Center for Policing Equity, who's one of our grantees, and they're using data science to be able to actually help police departments understand how their use of force is being biased against people of color. And the data situation is awful. And we have Googlers on the ground going to partner with that organization to actually work with the police departments to help them understand the data so that they can do better. And there's lots of efforts happening around the company, but how to be a really, really good follower and 10x from a following role is something that honestly I think we're still trying to figure out. Because I'm not sure that we're supposed to be the people who are in the driver's seat doing the 10x thinking. We need to approach that with some humility, and it's a tough, tricky balance to figure that out.
So I agree with all of that. I agree with your view that Google is uniquely placed for many, many reasons to be a substantial contributor to solutions here. So I don't think that's overly optimistic or overly idealistic. Where I might be overly optimistic or overly idealistic is my belief in the extent to which Google's going to own and execute on that obligation to be a major contributor to solutions here. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that there is a real expectation within Google, and I think outside of Google, that we are a much bigger, more substantial player, and I guess we'll see if we step up.
I'd also like to add, just on a personal note, that if there's really a heart change, just through discussions and through experiencing things like this, that it ends up showing whether you want to try to make it or not. Like, I don't like to use myself as an example, but this is the first time I've ever stepped this far outside of my comfort zone for any sort of justice or racial justice initiative. And with the support of the people around you, with the allies who are already here at Google and already doing uncomfortable things like at our own town hall, you'll realize that it's already begun and that you just need to find the right people to support you and encourage you and believe, even if you feel like you're being a little bit crazy almost, you might just be being brave, and you'll find that there's a lot of fruit in that. Hello. Oh, yes.
We have been experimenting on the Google.org side in the VR space. So we've done a project with Cut 50, which is Van Jones's organization in the criminal justice space. And we produced a couple of VR short films that really try to help tell the story of mass incarceration and create more empathy around it. There was a Google partnership last year who probably produced the best piece of VR I've seen in this kind of social justice space, the solitary confinement VR, to really help people put themselves in the shoes of somebody who's in solitary. And I sort of challenge people, if you can take 10 minutes of that VR, imagine what it's like to be in the hole for like 6 years. So I do think that the promise of VR is that it can be this empathy machine, and I think we have some examples of teams who are working to do that. And I know there are some experimental parts of the company who I'm probably not at liberty to disclose their projects yet because they're working on them, but they're really, really exciting. And I think we are as a company pushing the edges of VR. That's one of those followership opportunities where we can go to people in the community and say, where are the biggest challenges? Where do you see there a huge gap for empathy? And we can come in and help figure out how to put our technology up against that. So we are funding it, and in some cases doing it ourselves. And I think you'll see some of that roll out this year. It should be exciting to see if it makes a difference.
We have a question from the audience.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, this elicited a lot of strong emotions, and I believe that was part of the point, but I think a lot of the engagement with material like this and even the academic stuff is great at eliciting lots of negative emotions, which is probably a good starting point to have people understand and feel pain and despair and frustration and anger, and that is important. But I know, as someone who has tried to engage in a lot of different social issues for a while, it's tough to maintain a sustained effort in something and be so uncomfortable and be so exhausted unless you also have a positive hope that what you're doing is actually going to lead to a successful change. And it's honestly difficult to maintain that when you actually step back and analyze the problem. So I'm wondering from you guys, what are your sources of hope? How do you maintain some confidence that everything that we're doing is not in vain? What are your sources of hope so we can share with each other?
Thank you.
I'll jump on that question first. So for me, I have 2 small children. So I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. So just based on their future, you know, looking in their eyes is always a sense of hope for me, you know, raising my kids, and also work with a lot of youth. And I share these plays with our youth. We address social issues. They write original monologues and short plays based on sometimes their own lives, but also, like I said, based on looking at a social issue they want to address. And the things that it comes out is beautiful. And to see someone basically be able to understand something from a different point of view than they were to before is powerful, and it gives me hope that they want to go out and impact the world. So again, I think there's power in numbers, and I don't underestimate what one person can actually do, you know, to have an impact. I mean, Martin Luther King was one person. You see what I'm saying? The impact that he's had. And I believe in the power of theater. And I think as storytellers, is what we do best in theaters. And I think empathy is something that's really important that we are able to accomplish from putting on shows and doing theater. So the work that I do every day brings me joy. It also brings me pain, of course, when the subject matter is so close to home. But that's why I do the work.
For me, it's youth. My daughter was murdered in 1997, and I started an organization called the Love Life Foundation. And every week I'm blessed to be around young people. And the encouragement, the spirit, I'll share this. I met a 2-year-old, and you saw him the other night at the show, and he plays the drum, the African drum. And he told me he wanted to play the drum at my show, for Hillary Clinton, and for Donald Trump. And I said, dude, why Donald Trump? He's 3, he just turned 3. He said he needs it more than anybody. So, and I believe in the power of the human spirit. I've always been a humanist person. And I feel the love in this room. This brother here said it's all about the love. And that was a great question. To me, we got to love each other, man, and there's nothing we can't do.
Yes, Rachel?
Thank you, Jane, and everybody. Sorry, I'm short. One question I wanted to ask, well, first, I actually want to address Jonathan's comment. I know I'm not on the panel, but one way that I think about it, because I'm engaged in this work all the time, my boyfriend kind of gave me this analogy, like I shoot shots. Like I have tons of ideas. I'm always pitching them. I get a lot of no's, but every so often I get a yes, and that keeps me going. And I think about like basketball players. LeBron is not going to stop shooting shots if he misses a couple. So that's what kind of like keeps me going in this work. But to my
I get a lot of happiness from my family, but the people here at Google give me a tremendous amount. You give me a tremendous amount of happiness. Rachel, you give me a tremendous amount. People who don't have nearly the privilege that I have being an executive at Google, but put themselves out there every day, way out in front, that's where I get a lot of my energy. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Andy, because we definitely need your support. We couldn't have gotten Charlie's without you, so thank you so much. Yeah. My question is, like, how do you bring along your family? So I'm trying to educate my parents, who I'm realizing, like, wow, you are kind of racist. But it's like, it's ingrained within them. And like, I'll give you an example. My father is 65. He helped desegregate, well, he was the first person to desegregate his school in North Carolina, and got beat up by white men every day. And so now for me to be like, have conversations with white men, they're cool, right? Like, he's like, no, sweetie. And it's like, he's my father, so I want to have that respect. I also want to honor his experience, and that's very real for him. And how do I help just bring family members who it's been ingrained in them for so long along the journey?
I try really hard to find points of commonality. My best friend is a Republican. I grew up in Montana, but my family is from Memphis, Tennessee, and Grenada. So that means that I have a huge, prolific, beautiful, diverse circle of friends and family, and they don't agree on anything, and they agree on everything. So generally, if I can get the conversation to a place of something that we actually agree upon. For instance, innocent people shouldn't just be shot in the street. That's a pretty basic thing most people can agree to. Organizationally, at my own organization, we actually had a really deep conversation about, can we say Black Lives Matter? We had to have the conversation and say, can we put signs up in the windows that say Black Lives Matter? It was much easier to have that conversation when we flipped it and said, well, would we want to work at an organization where Black lives do not matter? Where that's not something that we could just say casually and confidently? And then we could start from there. I don't know if that helps, because I think none of us are experts in this, but that's been my personal experience.
Yes, we'll take a question from an actor.
I kind of want to address that as well. A lot of times when I look at racism, a lot of times when I hear racism and reverse racism, there's a big idea that racism is about feelings, and I think in a sense that deflates what actual racism is. And I think racism in a sense is the systematic oppression of me not being able to get into college because of the color of my skin, or because I didn't go to a school or a high school that was in a better district, me not being able to get a job because of my name on my resume, simple things like that. So I'm hesitant in regards to how we identify race, because I think it's a larger issue than me just being hurt and me crying in my pillow. That happens, of course, and I think that's a part of it, but I think racism is such a looming large dynamic that oppresses all of us in America. And when I think of this is going to segue into a question, if I can fathom the words. Okay, so this is my first time at Google, and it's huge. It's like a college campus. It's a lot. And I see a lot of middle schoolers walking around on tour. And one of the striking things, I've only lived in the Bay Area, this is like my third year because I'm here for grad school. And one of the most striking things for me when I got here was the lack of black bodies on the street. And when I think of every 28 hours and I go into communities like the Bayview or Hunters Point or even in Oakland, and I constantly see black bodies being displaced by tech companies such as Google and even smaller tech companies. I see luxury condos being built up and artists can't afford to live in them. Minorities can't necessarily afford to live in them. So I have to ask, what are tech companies such as Google doing in order to ensure the treatment of black bodies not only in San Francisco but in the Bay Area at large? And how does that like trickle down into other urban areas? Because we constantly see gentrification. And if I, as a person who isn't from San Francisco, and I come here and I go downtown, yeah, you see black people, but I think that tells a story in regards to the black people you see, and that, in a sense, that procreates more racism, because if you only see one type of black, you think this is that only black. Beware of that black. Beware of that black body. That black body isn't on the same level as my black body. So what are we doing as far as like displacing the middle class black family, the upper class black family? What are we, I guess, what are you all? Because I'm just an artist.
These questions are getting deep.
I know. I know.
Love it.
I'll take a shot at it as the lead of Google.org, who's been funding in the Bay Area for the past few years. And first, just to acknowledge it's really, really difficult and challenging, and we all recognize that. I think there's a lot of Googlers who feel just as passionate as you do about that question. And as someone who's raising a family in Oakland, I feel really passionate about that question as well. I think one of the things that we've tried to do is not be afraid to engage in the conversation. Just the fact that we created a racial justice giving portfolio at Google.org that started in Oakland, that continued in San Francisco, that brought it down to San Jose, where we funded the African American Male Achievement Initiative in Oakland Unified School District, where we engaged with the Ella Baker Center and grassroots organizing in Oakland, where we funded the My Brothers and Sisters Keeper program in SFUSD, where we're really trying to make sure that everybody in the Bay Area has an opportunity to participate in the economy, has an opportunity to participate in this. But even that, we know, is really challenging. I mean, the Bay Area has the highest income inequality in the country. It's growing faster than anywhere in the country. Some of these are big, like, macroeconomic issues that are really challenging to try to figure out, especially as one company. So despite the fact that Google is the largest cash giver in the Bay Area, I mean, it's not even close. We give somewhere between $30 and $40 million to nonprofits every year. The next closest company is around 20. So we're sort of out front, and still it's not enough. I mean, it's not even close to enough. And so I think we're leaning in and engaging and not shying away from the difficult conversations. At the same time, I do, if I'm honest, sometimes go home feeling a little bit helpless because the challenge is so big and so complex and so macroeconomic that, you know, it's like we need really big thinking. And so we got some of that here, but just acknowledge how challenging it really is.
Thank you. Yes. Hi, Ted.
So this is really amazingly powerful stuff, and thank you all for coming here to show it to us. I really appreciate it. I think this project, the overall project, has succeeded to much greater extent than you expected. You have the stage, you have the momentum. What's next? What can the live theater do to move this forward?
Yes. Yes, somebody in the audience said funding. That person doesn't work for me. Thank you for suggesting that. The answer to that is yes. This entire project was crowdsourced, right? It was... This entire project was put together by individuals giving just a tiny bit. I asked famous playwrights, can you just write me a 1-minute play? Because I recognized you're super famous and busy. I asked activists, can you give us an hour of your thought intelligence? Can you give us just a little bit of time? But ultimately, I think we've reached a point where I need to start paying people and maybe compensating people for the great work that they're doing. We have this amazing oral history project where there's a young woman who's been interviewing participants from this project, and thousands of them, right? So she's only gotten to like 100. So those are being put up on the website. That's being edited by somebody who's completely volunteering his time. So it is my hope that we can get these plays in front of as many eyes as possible so that in 3 years, we don't have to produce these plays anymore.
Thank you. We're just about out of time, so if we could have the two Googlers ask your questions at the same time, like one after the other, so we can have questions processing while one person's being answered. That would be great.
Thank you. So some friends that I work with and I have had some challenges around kind of conflicts related to white fragility, kind of as Justin mentioned, and so I was curious to hear what yourselves and the actors in the company do to work with that, because it's something that, as you pointed out, I imagine crops up a lot with this performance. And so how do you work around that and work with that?
Thank you. And
This is a question.
oh, yes.
Kind of short too. So my question is actually in conjunction to that. Justin, you mentioned it, and in my role here as an HRBP, I unfortunately experience a lot of people telling me that they spend their days and their time having to not have emotion when, a killing happens. And they have been told by their white male managers here at Google, this is not the place to discuss that, and you don't have the right to be upset. So my question for you all is, what advice, what practical advice do you give those of us sitting here and those watching on live stream? How do they address that when they are smacked in the face with it day in and day out, and they come and they're hurting and they're grieving, and they are told it has no place here?
You can come talk to me and let me and the team that I lead take a look at it. We're moving to a place, and I've had a number of conversations with a number of people who operate in the space where I operate, where we are becoming more courageous as a company in defining the lines of acceptable conduct, and less susceptible to this superficial notion of equality that supports the harming dynamic that every single viewpoint is somehow a snowflake that's all equally appropriate. So come talk to me. Let me see if I can be of assistance, and just having the conversation with me will help me in terms of pushing the company to be a little bit more definitive about what's expected in interactions like that, what's appropriate in interactions like that.
Tyrone, did you want to answer the other question?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess going back to having a safe space, you know what I mean, to have a conversation, I think that's extremely important. The work, just life itself, I mean, it's extremely taxing when you're going through things and seeing stuff in life. You have to have a space to be able to come together and have a conversation. So I think every space should be a space where you can actually have a conversation about something, regardless of the topic. I understand that we have to have certain protocols, but I think it's important to make sure we don't silence each other in the midst of like all this chaos. And also I think it's important to acknowledge like this isn't new. What's happening right now, this is the fight of my grandfather, my great-grandfather. So I think it's so important to acknowledge. And I know like for me, like I'm literally like I'm exhausted at half the time, you know, so I think you mentioned about white fragility. I think it's important to just call a thing, you know. I've been trying my best to stand up in spaces where I'm the only black person in the room, knowing that if I say something, it's going to look like, oh, Tyrone or the black person's complaining again, and I speak for all black people when I'm talking, so I'm trying to be careful. You know what I mean? So people's feelings, but again, like this is something that's not new. You know what I mean? I'm so exhausted. I hope that my son doesn't have to fight the same fight. But I realize, working on this project, how big this issue is. And I honestly, the first time we did this project, I was so excited. People came out, they cried, we hugged, we talked, and it was beautiful. End of the day, I went home and I was like, this is so big. I don't think I'm going to accomplish this in my lifetime. We might not be able to solve this problem. And that's also discouraging. So if someone comes to work and their head is kind of low and another killing, we just can't turn it off and just, you know, I'm black every day, you know, all my life. And then whether I want to acknowledge that or not, if I walk out these doors, I'm going to be reminded that I'm black. So I think we can't hide it, we can't fight it, we have to address it head on. That's part of, I think, the solution.
Yeah. But I want to give you a little piece of affirmation, though, because I'm lucky with this particular project because I get to talk to everyone all over the country. So I get to hear the amazing bright spots. So I get to hear I get the individual email from the white actress based in New York who tells the story of how she did not think that this was something that she should have a voice in. She didn't think she had a responsibility or a place, and now she does. Her life has been transformed, and she's going to be doing good work in the future. I think about all of the people who are being touched by this, and somebody had asked, you know, how do I find resilience or joy, or what are the bright spots? And for me, it's searching the hashtag every 28 hours and seeing people acknowledging what's going on, and then telling the stories about the good that they're doing in their small sphere. Because I think culture shift, it's huge. If you can just change 5 people around you, and then they can change the 5 people around them, maybe we can make magic happen like Google does.
Yeah.
For me, living in the era of the Trumpocalypse, that I like to call it, I don't know about y'all, but I ain't hardly slept since he got elected. I be waking up in the middle of the night. He's president, so it just keeps me going. I don't get tired. I don't know if it's Trump. I don't know.
Thank you all so much for sharing in our panel and being a part of our panel. Well, at this point, I think a lot of us are really excited to learn what other racial initiatives are going on here within Google and how we can be a part of this. And so, Justin, I am welcoming you to take over the floor now.
Yeah, I was just going to give you guys an opportunity to just get up to speed on sort of what Google's doing in some of this space and give you guys an opportunity to contribute if you're so inclined. So don't take pictures or tweet this yet. This is all confidential. We haven't announced it, but I did want to give you guys a quick preview of what hasn't been announced, which is we've taken a huge step in the last year. I mean, we started doing some racial justice-oriented work in the Bay Area 2 years ago. Last year, Google stepped up big time. We're now up to $18 million invested in criminal justice reform organizations with an explicit lens of racial justice. I mean, we go into this work through the lens of racial justice. And you can see sort of across the spectrum the work we've done all the way from challenging the presumption of guilt and dangerousness that Brian Stevenson talks about, that we saw clearly sort of acted out on stage towards people of color. A lot of the 21st century policing work, the data across the policing and the court system is horrible. I mean, in the wake of Philando Castile and Alton Sterling, a lot of Googlers, y'all came to me and said, we want to dig into the data, like give us the data set and we'll crunch punch it and we'll tell the story and we'll put a UI on it and we'll tell the world. And I said, the data set doesn't exist. There's 18,000 police agencies. Every single one of them owns their own data. None of them are mandated to report it. It doesn't roll up into any database, which is why you see people like The Guardian crowdsourcing data on police use of force against people of color, because it simply doesn't exist. And so we've got Center for Policing Equity, we've got Measures for Justice, grants going out to some of the smartest folks in the world, some of those organizations led by people of color who are trying to partner with police agencies, partner with the court systems to get their data, roll it up, and tell it to the world. So there's certainly opportunities for you guys to get engaged on the data science side if you're interested, the narrative change side if you got that more creative mind. Marketing is doing an amazing Brian Stevenson project around his Lynching in America report right now. So if you guys are interested, you can learn more about the actual funding at go/racial justice. You can actually learn how to get deeper engaged at go/getproximate if you want to sign up. And Austin, we've got opportunities for people to badge to donate. Is that right today?
Yes.
So if you guys want to financially support the folks who put on every 28 hours, if you want to support some of the other organizations, I definitely encourage you guys to do that. We mentioned we need funding for these movements. We need funding to tell the narrative. We need funding for these types of projects. So definitely on the live stream or in person, encourage you guys to go. I think the organizations that's in the Go/Give system is it Oregon Shakespeare Festival. So if y'all give to Oregon Shakespeare Festival, you're giving to the folks who put this play on. So definitely encourage you to give personally through that, and then just know institutionally, Google is stepping up big, and you can be proud of what the company's doing as well.
Thank you so much for that wrap up. And if you guys would like to receive all the information he just mentioned right now, Austin is heading over to his badge reader station, which is right there. And you guys can badge in both with Austin and Jordan. The LDAPs will be recorded and we'll send you all that information. And for those of you on live stream, there's a go/every 28 hours form. And the same thing will happen. You'll receive all that information. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. And can we have another round of applause for this amazing panel?
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much, Jane. Thank you so much.